Welcome to Hong Kong, a dazzling city of skyscrapers and wealth, a global financial hub where luxury is a way of life. But peel back just one layer of this shimmering facade, and you'll find a reality that's hard to stomach. In the shadow of these gleaming towers, over 200,000 people live in spaces so small, so cramped, they're called coffin homes. Today, we're going inside this hidden world to understand a housing crisis so extreme, it forces people to live in boxes smaller than a parking space. This isn't just about poverty. It's a story of survival in one of the world's most expensive cities. Imagine your entire life confined to a space just 6 feet long and 2 feet wide. That's about 15 to 20 square feet. It's not a room, it's a box. This is the reality for residents of cage and coffin homes. You can't stand up. You can barely sit up. All you can do is lie down. Your mattress, your clothes, your food, your memories, everything you own is squeezed into this tiny rectangle. These aren't apartments. They're subdivided units, meaning a single small flat, maybe 800 square feet, is illegally partitioned with thin plywood or wire mesh into 20 or even 30 individual homes. The terms cage home and coffin home are chillingly accurate. The original versions were literally wire mesh cages stacked on top of each other, offering zero privacy. Over time, many landlords switched to flimsy wooden partitions to create what are now known as coffin homes. It sounds like a slight improvement, but it only serves to block out the light and trap the stale air, making the claustrophobia even worse. Let's take a walk through one of these buildings, often found in older, run-down districts like Sham Shui Po. The moment you step inside, the air hits you. It's thick, humid, and heavy with the smell of unwashed clothes, stale food, and poor sanitation. There's no real ventilation. In the summer, the heat is suffocating, easily climbing past 30 degrees Celsius inside these wooden boxes. In the winter, the cold seeps through the thin walls. The corridors are narrow and cluttered, with a tangled mess of electrical wires snaking across the ceilings, a constant, terrifying fire hazard. For 20 or 30 residents, there's usually just one bathroom. Forget clean. We're talking about a level of filth that's hard to describe. A single grimy toilet, a cold water tap, and maybe a small, perpetually damp corner to wash. Cooking happens in a shared makeshift kitchen, if you can even call it that. It's often just a single hot plate perched precariously on a greasy counter, surrounded by cockroaches and other pests. This isn't living. It's a daily battle for basic dignity. So who lives here? You might be surprised. It's not just the unemployed. Many residents are the working poor cleaners, security guards, construction workers, people who work long hours to keep this city running but can't afford a basic apartment. The city's housing market is the most expensive on the planet. For many, a coffin home is the only alternative to sleeping on the streets. You'll also find the elderly, retirees whose pensions can't keep up with the skyrocketing cost of living. They've worked their whole lives only to end up in a space where they can't even stand. And then there are new arrivals and single individuals trapped by circumstance, dreaming of a better life while confined to a box. Here's the most shocking part. These horrific spaces are not cheap. Rent for a single coffin home can be thousands of Hong Kong dollars a month. When you calculate the cost per square foot, it's astronomical, often more expensive than a luxury apartment in the same city. It's a predatory system that exploits the most vulnerable. Landlords know these people have no other choice, so they cram as many bodies as possible into a single flat to maximize their profit. It's a business model built on human desperation. The psychological toll is immense. Living in such a confined, isolated space day after day crushes the human spirit. There's no privacy, no peace, and no escape. The constant noise, the lack of personal space, and the sheer hopelessness of the situation lead to high rates of depression and anxiety. Residents often talk about feeling like they're being buried alive, a feeling that gives the name coffin home its tragic double meaning. It's a mental health crisis running parallel to the housing crisis. For decades, activists have been sounding the alarm, but change has been painfully slow. The government has long acknowledged the problem, but effective solutions have been elusive. In 2023, a new plan was announced to set minimum standards for subdivided units and phase out the worst of these cage and coffin homes. The goal is to eliminate them entirely, but not until 2049. That's over 2 decades away. For the people living in these conditions right now, 2049 is a lifetime away. Furthermore, critics argued the proposed new minimum standard around 8 square meters, or about 86 square feet, is still far too small. While it's an improvement from a coffin home, it's still a tiny shoebox apartment that doesn't address the fundamental issue: a severe shortage of affordable public housing. Hong Kong has a long waiting list for public housing, with families often waiting 5 or 6 years, sometimes longer. During that wait, for many, a subdivided unit is the only option. The existence of coffin homes is a stark symbol of Hong Kong's extreme inequality. It's a tale of 2 cities in one. One city is a playground for the ultra-rich, with infinity pools and designer boutiques. The other city is hidden in decaying buildings, where people are fighting for survival in the most inhumane conditions imaginable. It forces us to ask a difficult question. In a society with so much wealth, how can we allow our fellow human beings to live like this? The story of Hong Kong's coffin homes isn't just a local issue. It's a warning to major cities all over the world grappling with housing affordability. When the gap between the rich and the poor grows too wide and the cost of housing spirals out of control, this is the devastating human cost. It shows what happens when the market fails the most vulnerable and when a society stops seeing housing as a fundamental human right. The residents of these homes are not just statistics. They are parents, grandparents, workers, and dreamers. They have stories, hopes, and resilience that is nothing short of incredible. They organize, they support each other, and they continue to fight for a better future, for a small slice of dignity in a city that has pushed them to the very edge. Their strength is a testament to the human spirit, but it's a strength they should never have had to summon. As we conclude, it's important to remember that behind the shocking images and statistics are real people. The next time you see a picture of Hong Kong's glittering skyline, remember the hidden city within it and the hundreds of thousands of people for whom home is a box. Their story needs to be told, and we must continue to demand better. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, please know that help is available. Reaching out is a sign of strength. You can find resources for support in the description below. Thank you for watching and for taking the time to understand this critical issue. If this video opened your eyes, please consider liking it and subscribing for more stories that matter.